Welcome to I Think You're Muted, the podcast empowering professional women to step up, speak out, and be heard. I'm Dr. Stephanie Dean, and after hearing I think you're muted one too many times in meetings, I realized many of us are living life on mute. Your voice is your most powerful tool, and in each episode, you'll get the strategies and stories to help you find it, overcome challenges, and lead with confidence. Ready to turn up the volume on your impact? Let's dive in. Welcome to the very first episode of I Think You're Muted, the podcast dedicated to empowering women to step into their leadership, find their voices, and make an impact. I'm Dr. Stephanie Dean, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you've ever felt like your voice wasn't heard, like your contributions were overlooked, or maybe you've hesitated to speak up in meetings, you're in the right place. Together, we're going to change that. You see, I believe that your voice has the power to change the game. And today, we're kicking things off by talking about why it's time to speak up and stand out, and why it's time to unlock the power of your voice. Let's start with a simple yet profound truth. Your voice matters. But let's be real. How often do we actually believe that? How often do we think, oh, someone else will say it, or maybe it's not important enough, or who am I to speak up? But here's the thing. If you don't speak up, your ideas, your insights, and your unique perspective are lost. And the world, or at least your world, your workplace, is poorer for it. We often underestimate the power of our own voices, and that's exactly what we're going to dismantle today. Speaking up isn't just about being heard, it's about making sure that your unique perspective, your hard-earned knowledge, and your valuable insights don't go to waste. It's about contributing to the bigger picture in a way that only you can. I remember the first time I realized just how much I was holding back. I was in a meeting and the conversation was heading in a direction that didn't quite sit right with me. I had this nagging feeling that there was a crucial piece missing from the discussion, but I stayed silent. After the meeting, someone else brought up the very point I'd been thinking about, and it changed the entire direction of the project. And I couldn't help but think, that could have been me. I could have spoken up. But the imposter syndrome was deep, and it ran long, and I didn't say anything. But that moment was a turning point for me, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping you avoid the same mistake. Because here's the truth. Your voice, it's not just for you. It's for everyone around you. Your silence might be comfortable, but it's not serving anyone. Not you, not your team, and certainly not your career. Think about the ripple effect of speaking up, how your ideas can inspire others, drive innovation, or even lead to breakthroughs. It's not just about what you say, it's about the potential impact of your contribution. Imagine the missed opportunities, the creative solutions left unexplored, and the progress stalled simply because you didn't share your voice. This is why it matters so much. I want you to take a moment right now, wherever you are. If you're driving, still be safe, and think about a time when you held back. Maybe it was a meeting. Maybe it was a conversation with a colleague. What would have been different had you spoken up? And now think about a time when you did speak up. How did that feel? What changed because of your input? How did people react to your input? Probably not as bad as you feared. These reflections are important because they highlight the stakes. Your voice isn't just an accessory. It's a tool for change. It's a tool for influence and for leadership. And today we're going to start sharpening that tool together. Now I get it. Speaking up isn't always easy, right? There are real barriers. There's fear of judgment. There's the infamous imposter syndrome, or the simple fact that sometimes it feels like there's no room for your voice. So we're going to break these down. First, let's talk about fear. It's universal, right? We all experience it. The fear of being judged, of saying something wrong, or standing out in the wrong way. But here's what I want you to consider. What's scarier? Being judged for speaking up, or watching the opportunities pass you by because you stayed silent? Think about it. How many times have you stayed silent because you were worried about what others might think? What was the outcome? Did staying silent really protect you, or did it actually hold you back from being seen and recognized for your contributions? One of the most powerful realizations I've had is that fear doesn't go away. Even the most confident people in the room feel fear. The difference is they don't let it control them. They still speak up, they still show up, they still put in the work. They speak up despite the fear because they know the risk of staying silent is greater than the risk of being judged. And then there's imposter syndrome, that little voice in your head that says, who are you to speak up? What do you know? This phenomenon is so common, it's got a name, imposter syndrome. It's that persistent, nagging feeling that you're not good enough, that you don't really belong, and that any moment you're going to be exposed as a fraud. It's that belief that your achievements are somehow not legitimate, or that you've been lucky, or that you've been managed to fool everyone into thinking you're more competent than you are. And the thing is, sometimes outward forces reinforce that imposter syndrome. We've got to start looking at ways to move out of that cognitively. Imposter syndrome can affect anyone, but it's especially prevalent among high-achieving women. We often hold ourselves to impossibly high standards and are quick to dismiss our success as flukes or mistakes. And I hate to say it, social media really upholds that. Even when we're doing an amazing job, amazing work, that voice can pop up telling us that we don't really deserve our accomplishments and that we're not as talented as others perceive us to be. But let me ask you this. How often have you dismissed a compliment or downplayed an achievement because you didn't really feel like you earned it? Maybe someone praised your work and you thought, they're just being nice. If they really knew, they wouldn't say that. That's imposter syndrome at work. It convinces you that you're not enough, despite all evidence to the contrary. But here's the thing. Like I said earlier, every single person in the room has doubts, even the most confident leaders. The difference is they don't let those doubts keep them from contributing. They recognize that those feelings of inadequacy are just that, feelings, not facts. They push through the discomfort. They speak up anyway because they know their voice matters and their ideas are worth sharing. It's crucial to understand that imposter syndrome isn't a reflection of your actual abilities or worth. It's a mental barrier that can hold you back if you let it. And why does this matter? And we're going to go into this much deeper later in the series here. But when you let imposter syndrome silence you, you're not just keeping your voice hidden. You're withholding your unique contributions from the world. You're denying yourself the opportunity to grow. And let me say that again. You're denying yourself the opportunity to grow. You're taking it away from yourself to be recognized and to make a difference. So you're stopping yourself because you have started to believe that little voice in your head. You don't have to be the most experienced person in the room to have something valuable to say. In fact, sometimes a fresh perspective, an unconventional idea, or a simple observation can be exactly what's needed to spark innovation, to shift the direction, or to shift a conversation. Your voice is valuable because it's yours. With all those experiences, baggage, insights, knowledge, that beautiful mix that every person has uniquely for themselves. And I know, we have been told for years we are a special snowflake and we're the only ones that can bring what we have to the table. And that can be a little daunting and a little annoying, to be honest. But at the same time, there's some truth in that. Every cliche has a little bit of truth, right? That's how it becomes a cliche. You really do have a different set of knowledge and experience and baggage that gives you different insights. So let your voice be heard, contribute to the conversation. It does matter. So let me share another story. This time, it's about a colleague who was always quiet in meetings. She was brilliant and she rarely spoke up because she felt like she didn't have the right to contribute. But one day during a brainstorming session, she finally decided to share an idea she'd been thinking about, and it was a game changer. Her idea completely shifted the direction of the project in a positive way. Afterwards, she told me, I almost didn't say anything because I wasn't sure it was a good idea. But here's the thing. She didn't need to be sure. Her perspective was unique and incredibly valuable, and it made a huge impact. Now think about a time when you had an idea that you didn't share because of this little voice in your head. What did you miss out on? What did your team miss out on? It's time to start challenging and changing that voice and recognizing that your ideas are worth it. They're worth sharing. So let's talk about the environment. Sometimes it feels like there's just no room for your voice. The conversation is dominated by louder voices and it can seem impossible to break in. And if you're kind of new in your career, you may not know when to break in or when to contribute. But here's the truth. You don't have to wait for space to be made for you. You can create that space. If there's no room for your voice, create room. Be assertive, not aggressive, but assertive. You have the right to be heard. You earned this space. It's okay to claim that space. You can do this by finding moments to insert your thoughts, or even by speaking up directly and saying, hey, I have something to add here. It's about being proactive and making sure that voice is part of the conversation. Imagine how different your work experience would be if you consistently made space for your voice. Again, what would change in your career? What impact could you have on your team, your projects, your organization? I know I keep repeating myself here, but that's what you have to really start getting in your head. It's not about being the loudest. It's about making sure your voice is part of the conversation. You don't have to butt in. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to take over the conversation. In fact, that's almost the opposite problem. It's like the people in group work, the ones that want to take over and do the entire group work and don't let anyone else have a chance to contribute, just as bad as not contributing at all. Literally equally as bad. It's not about being the loudest. It's about making sure your voice is part of the conversation. It's about contributing to the collective effort in a meaningful way. Okay, so let's get practical. How do you actually start unlocking the power of your voice? How do you go from silent observer to active participant? First of all, you want to start small. You don't have to make a grand speech at your next meeting. Start by contributing to the conversation in small ways. Share your thoughts, ask questions, offer your perspective. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to become doing that. And the more comfortable people are going to be giving you that space, because you will be earning that space over time. Second, preparation is key. If you know you have a meeting coming up, spend a few minutes thinking about the topics that are going to be discussed. What's your take? What's a question or idea that you can contribute? When you walk in prepared, you're more likely to speak up. We actually have a free resource for this. So if you go to corvididesign.com, that's Corvidi, corvididesign.com/meeting, you'll find a small workbook that can help you prepare for your next meeting. It's totally free. Don't have to pay for it. It's just going to help you. There are some questions that will walk you through finding the main purpose of the meeting and identifying where you can contribute. So when you get into that meeting, you're not going to feel kind of like freaked out or not knowing what to contribute or not having thought about questions that you may have beforehand. So let me share a few of those questions with you. What is the primary goal of this meeting? How does your expertise or perspective align with that goal? What are 3 key points that you can contribute that will add value to the discussion? These questions are designed to help you focus on thoughts and approach the meeting with clarity and confidence. And then at the end of it, there's actually a little bit of confidence boosting journaling that you can do. Really helpful. Don't poo-poo journaling. Journaling actually can help you get out of your head and start putting your thoughts into action. Okay, so let me bring up my third big point here. Find your allies. I don't know if we've got any gamers in the audience or people that watch People Game. What do they do when they have a really hard boss they've got to fight? And I don't mean boss in the CEO or president way. I mean someone that they've got to fight in a game. They find their allies, right? They go in a group. They go on a quest. They join a guild. Look for the colleagues who value your input and who can help create space for you in conversations. Sometimes having someone in your corner can make all the difference. So let me share a story that really illustrates the power of finding your allies at work. A few years ago, I was working with a woman named Sarah. Sarah was incredibly talented, super smart, super creative, super dedicated, super silent, but she often felt like her voice wasn't being heard in meetings. She'd bring up ideas, but they'd just get brushed aside and picked up later by someone else, often without giving her credit. And that was kind of teaching her to continue to swallow her voice and not speak up. So one day, Sarah decided to reach out to a colleague, Tori. Tori was well respected in the company and known for being a good listener. They didn't work closely, but Sarah admired the way she spoke up in meetings and supported others when they shared ideas. Sarah approached Tori and she asked if she'd be willing to grab a coffee. She shared her frustrations. She said she felt overlooked. She asked for advice, and Tori listened and offered some great insights. But more importantly, she offered support. She was a mentor. She told Sarah, next time you're about to share an idea with me, give me a heads up and I'll back you up. I think your ideas are great and I'd be happy to make sure they're heard. In their next big meeting, Sarah shared the idea that she'd been working on, and it was just as promised. Tori spoke up saying, hey, I think Sarah's onto something here. Let's explore this further. That simple act of support, that act of mentorship from an ally changed the dynamic. It changed the game. It wasn't just Sarah pushing her idea anymore. It was a respected voice in the room amplifying hers. And ladies, we can all do this for each other, right? From that point on, Sarah's confidence grew, and so did her network of allies. She started collaborating more with Tori and other colleagues who valued her input. She became known not just as a team player, but as someone who brought valuable insights to the table. And it all started with finding one ally who was willing to lend their support and their voice. The lesson here is finding your allies at work isn't just about having people on your side. It's not about sides. It's about creating a network of support that amplifies your voice and strengthens your impact. So if you feel like your voice isn't being heard, don't hesitate to reach out to someone you respect. Share your challenges, ask for their support. It could be the start of a powerful partnership that helps you and your ideas shine. Now, we're not going to go into depth about mentorship here, but it's a vital part of reaching forward and eventually reaching back to bring up yours and others' careers. Later in this series, in this podcast series, we're going to be talking with very successful guests who would not have reached where they are as quickly as they did without a mentor. I am so excited about these episodes. We have some great interviews coming. Now, here's what I want you to do. This week, commit to speaking up at least once in a meeting or conversation where you'd normally stay silent. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It just has to be something that adds value. And when you do, I want you to pay attention to how it feels. Notice the impact it has on the conversation, on your confidence, and on your perception of your own value. And if you need a little bit of help getting there, preparing for that meeting and journaling a little bit to boost your confidence, don't forget we've got that free resource, Corvidi Design/meeting, and you'll find that free workbook. So we've covered a lot today. Why your voice matters, the barriers that hold us back, and practical steps to start speaking up. Remember, your voice is your power, and it's time to start using it. In our next episode, we're going to dive even deeper into breaking the silence, specifically how to overcome the fear of being judged. If you've ever hesitated to share your thoughts because of what others might think, you don't want to miss it. If you found value in today's episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us reach more women who are ready to unlock their voices and lead with impact. And honestly, as a new podcast, it helps us immensely. Thank you for helping this former professor Until next time, remember, your voice is powerful, your perspective is unique, and the world needs to hear from you. Thank you.